Man sues parents of British boys, Benedict and Oliver, over $1 million Bitcoin heist. The parents aren't denying the crime, but apparently they're not willing to give up the money either. Back in 2018, a Colorado man had roughly $1 million worth of Bitcoin plundered from his digital wallet. After 3 years of working with investigators, he's traced the crime back to two Brits named Benedict and Oliver, and now their parents are being taken to court. They've filed suit against the minors, they've tracked them down, and they've asked the parents to give the money back. The parents have completely denied that, saying they won't give the money back. They gave them a chance before sending this case to court. They said, "I'm writing you. I'm saying I'm giving you a chance. We have the evidence." Let's go to Ben Ark. Your thoughts on the man suing the British boys who stole $1 million?
Cheeky chaps, aren't they? Oliver and Benedict, the cheeky chaps. This was what, beginning of 2018, and I think now they're both doing their computer science degrees. I imagine that he probably wasn't the only person who got stung, because they managed to get some malicious software into Electrum Atom, which the guy was running, and I don't think by the sound of it this guy could afford to lose his 16 Bitcoin, and is very bitter about it, obviously. But whether those 16 Bitcoins still exist, or those kids managed to get their hands on it, just spirited it away trading shit coins, because I think partly how they found out about it was the fact it was like sent to Bitfinex or something, or some exchange, so they probably did exchange stuff with it. The kids did. Yeah, it's a really interesting article. I imagine more people got stung, so I'm not looking forward to, but I'm going to be interested to see how many more people come forward and say, yes, I also had Bitcoins taken from me when I was using Electrum Atom. I downloaded it from this dodgy source, which I shouldn't have done. But yeah, it's hopefully it's something which will become resolved, and it's that sort of hack where you're not attacking some big corporate entity which has tons of money and can afford to lose a little bit. Your vulnerable people who don't really know how to use a computer are gonna download the wrong software from the wrong place, and they're going to get stung, and they're going to lose all their money, and it sucks, and it's sad. Education is the way forward on that, and how to make that better. But it's just like similar sorts of scams. It's the vulnerable people which get which are attacked, and that's kind of sucks. It's sad. So hopefully they'll have some resolve over it, but I can't imagine these kids are going to have the money. They've probably spent it by now, whatever kids spend their money on.
Gabriel D. Vaughn.
Yeah, it's what I find interesting on this story of Benedict and Oliver is they were clever enough to insert or to get an address swapping malware onto this download site. In other words, this schmuck, this schlemazel who put his who downloaded Electrum Atom from some sketchy source, didn't check. He's sending huge amounts of Bitcoin, or decent amount back in the day, thousands of dollars worth, and didn't check the source address. Everyone in every Bitcoin user in the world should always be cognizant of the possibility of this exact hack, and always double check the addresses whenever sending Bitcoin. Always look at the address, check it, double check it, triple check it. I know it's a little bit time consuming, but especially if you're sending a good amount of your net worth, you want to check every single character to make sure it wasn't changed on the, in your copy and pasting. So that's really too bad that he's so reckless with the addresses. It's not difficult for any human being to look at characters and compare them. It might take several minutes if you're really slow or drunk or tired, but take the minutes.
You don't even need to check all of it, right? You just check the last like 5 characters, even, because there's so many checksums in place of the thing. That's the minimum to do. Of course, if you're sending your life savings, maybe you look through, but the first 3 and the last 3 is even enough.
Yeah. If you're sending a few, a few bucks or worth or whatever, that's cool. You know, always at least check something. So the other side of the equation that's hilarious to me is that he was able to track these kids down. They were smart enough to put the malware in that changes your address, which is a relatively sophisticated piece of malware, but they weren't smart enough to cash out their Bitcoins in an anonymous way where they wouldn't be caught on the other end. That's shocking to me that these kids lacked that. Well, I guess they're children. I guess they're young. They didn't. They knew they had only code knowledge and no knowledge of the world. And you know, on the other side of the equation, the fiat side or the exchange side. So that's pretty terrible. It's just like an example of really bad OPSEC on all sides of the equation. It's just kind of like, you know, play stupid games type of situation. But you know, whatever. That's just how things go. Got to be careful in this world. And I think Bitcoin, once again, we were speaking about incentives earlier. The incentive for proper cybersecurity is ratcheting up very quickly around the world, not just to protect your information from prying eyes and from the public. You know, you're also going to need to understand cybersecurity a lot better in order to protect your life savings.
I really thought the most interesting thing about the article is the way that it covered the parents. And it said the guy sent a letter to the parents and he said, oh, you know, we can settle this privately. You know, I'm just looking for my money back. I don't have to ruin your kids' lives. And the way the article presents it, the parents aren't denying the crime, but apparently they're not willing to give up the money either. It's almost as if the parents have no shame. And at several points, some of these articles, they say, oh, the person was, you know, 5 countries away or 1,000 miles away. Like they're not a real person. Like the guy has, you know, bills, he has stuff to pay. He doesn't have his Bitcoin anymore. Somehow they managed to track these kids, which is amazing. And then the parents had this chance where they're like, oh yeah, your kids are at school anyway. Like they're probably going to make lots of money. Maybe even if it's gone, they could work out a payment plan or some kind of a resolution. But it just seems that shame doesn't work anymore. And that the fact that these kids would be shamed, Benedict and Oliver, who would hire them, that the parents would be shamed, that even the country could be shamed. They're like, nah, it's $1 million. Like we need that. Or maybe it's already spent. I don't know. Joshua Shigala, your thoughts on the $1 million theft?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the history of hacking has always been in the someone bet something. Ben is falling asleep here. Someone slap that man. Basically, the history of hacking has always been with these kids. You know, it's the archetype hacker is the kids. You know, kids are breaking into something. And you know, back in the day, somehow it was like Kevin Mitnick. You know, he was, I don't know, like I think if I remember correctly, at Monroe High School or something when he first started being a hacker, and then obviously USC. And Tim Berners-Lee, you know, started hacking his computers back in the, you know, mid 70s or something like that, before he invented the internet. You know, you got George Hotz. He was an amazing hacker. He basically jailbroke the iPhone, meaning like the iPhone was this.
No, Tim Berners-Lee, the web, not the internet.
Oh, the web, right? Okay, yeah, right. Oh, geez, the semantics here are important. But you know, George Hotz was also this amazing hacker who like took something and jailbroke it. And actually, if it wasn't for George Hotz jailbreaking the iPhone and putting an app store, before Apple had an app store, it just had a bunch of apps. It basically gave Apple the idea of, hey, an app store, that's a good idea. It was this young hacker kid who basically created this app store, and then all these other people would start creating these apps to put into Cydia, I think it was called, which then sparked this light bulb in Steve Jobs to say, hey, we can have an app store on this thing. Maybe he thought of it before, I'm not sure, but it definitely accelerated it. But, you know, it's sad to see these young kids go and take money from people that are, you know, that actually are real people, like Ben said. You know, these are, and if you read the letter that he wrote, it was really nice. It was like, man, I don't, you know, this has been a really hard time for me. I lost this money and I've really suffered. And I'm writing this letter to you to say, hey, you know, if I don't want to ruin you guys are kids, and I don't want to ruin the rest of your lives by taking you through court and having a bad name. But you know, can we sort something out? And for these parents to just then go no, and sort of, you know, come on, guys. I mean, it's pretty shitty. And you know, let's get back to ethical hacking, eh? Oh, sadly, he's left it too long as well. He left it like 3 years, so now there's this like sort of time that you're allowed to get someone, but I don't know if it'll stand up in court. That's what the article says. Maybe it won't stand up in
Statute of
court.
limitations.
Yeah, those limitations. So yeah, let's see. It'll be definitely something interesting to follow. But the kids, man, come on, they're kids. They wouldn't have spent it all. They would have bought some wacky crap coins. They probably made a lot of money. They probably got more than enough, like if they really did it properly. So there's a good chance that they have way more than they need. Just you know, throw a dog a bone, eh?